Yep, it's going to do a SQL injection. And we got our flag, look at that. This right here is the first ever AI hacking game. If you have ever wanted to learn how to hack, this is it right here. This is going to be learning to hack through AI. So it's like a capture the flag. If you have ever played capture the flag in school, this is it, except it's a hacking version. So your goal is to find a flag. It's going to simulate like you're hacking somebody. So that being said, let's just get straight into it. So I'm just going to start this here by saying, help me hack someone. This is just, what any normal person would probably put into this. So it just says a bunch of stuff here, and then it says share your experience level with hacking or cybersecurity. So just to tailor this video to as many people as possible, I would assume a lot of people don't know how to hack, and I would assume also some people do know how to hack. I'm not going to say I'm an advanced person. I'm not going to say I'm a beginner. I'm going to say beginner-intermediate, and that way we can get some more basic stuff, but also you'll be able to learn a little bit more because it gets really, really basic if we do just straight up beginner. It gives us a scenario here. Your task is to identify and exploit a SQL injection vulnerability in a simulated login page of a website to gain unauthorized access to the database behind it. The goal is to retrieve the hidden flag stored in the database. So remember how I was saying this is a capture the flag? Our goal now is to find the flag. And we're going to be doing a SQL injection to do it. This is what a SQL injection actually looks like. Now, since we said we are a beginner, it's going to give us this line of code right here, which is pretty much exactly what we would do. If you don't know anything about SQL injection, obviously when you log into a website, you have a username and password field, right? You put in whatever you want for the username and whatever you want for the password. But the thing is, if you get either the username or password wrong, you're not going to get in, right? But there's lines of code behind a SQL database. And there's something called commenting, which if you put a comment, it doesn't actually get read in the code. So if you look here, we are actually we're like commenting out, for example, the password here, and then we're going or 1 equals 1. 1 is always equal to 1, which means regardless what the password is, it's commented out, and 1 is equal to 1, we get in. And that is just a really basic SQL injection. So imagine executing the above command, proceed to the next step to retrieve the hidden flag. Given you're successful in bypassing the login, the database reveals the table named flags. Now, assuming we're a beginner, we don't know how to actually use SQL to read a table named flags. So let's say, how do I access that? Now it's actually giving us a whole new task, since this might be a little bit too advanced for our skill level. So it's going to ask us to discover devices connected to a virtual network and identify services running on these devices that might be vulnerable to exploitation. For the purpose of this simulation, let's pretend we have permission to test the network that consists of several virtual machines, each connected with different services and potential vulnerabilities. So the first thing we're going to do is do an NMAP scan here, which is a network mapper. This is, if you know anything about hacking, this is a very, very common tool. So here is doing NMAP SV for service version. And then we're going to see it says FTP here with anonymous login enabled. FTP is file transfer protocol. If you don't know this, you literally just ask it's an AI and it'll teach you. That's a really cool thing about this. So what would your next step be to explore the FTP service for any interesting files or directories? But assuming we're a beginner, we don't know the actual command to connect to an FTP server. So instead of saying the command, I would say just try to connect, because it asks what we would try to do. Now it tells us how to connect, so we would just go FTP and then the IP address, which is pretty basic, but again, we don't know what we don't know because technically we're beginners, right? So we connect here with FTP, and then it's going to ask for the username and password. So we put in anonymous, and anonymous doesn't need a password for the login, so we just put anonymous and then we hit enter when it comes to the password. And now we are in. So now it tells us at this point you've logged in the FTP server and are ready to explore this contents. So assuming we know basic Linux, we can use Linux commands. If we don't, we can ask it to teach us how to use Linux. But let's say we know how to use Linux, ls, which will just show us what's in the environment or the directory that we're in currently. So ls, and it shows us there's documents and there's public. cd will change the directory to the documents folder. So cd documents, let's see what we get in here. So we cd it into documents, and it actually did an automatic ls for us, which will list the contents of this thing. And there are 2 text files. There's employee details.txt and meeting_notes.txt. I assume employee details is something that should be confidential, so we're just going to say cat, which allows us to read a .txt file. If you don't know that, again, you can just ask. That's a cool thing about having a AI hacking game, right? You can just ask it if you don't know how to do something. Cat employee_details.txt, and then employee details command successful. There we go. That gives us all this information here. And we got our flag, look at that. Remember to review the security training. The final quiz contains a flag for a special reward. So we have, congratulations, you found a flag. And all the flags start with sharked, pwned, and then it has a random hash of characters. That's your goal, is to find the flag, and we just did it. We didn't know anything about hacking. Now suddenly we know how to do a basic SQL injection, and we know how to connect via FTP after doing an NMAP scan, and then how to search through the directories and list contents from a.txt. If you want to check this out, I will leave a link in the description box below. This is by ChatGPT 4, so you do need the 4.0 version to be able to access this, since this is a custom GPT model. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed. Drop a like. Thank you. Bye-bye.